Yes, the lawsuit is completely defective. We'll get to that. But at the center of it is an actual crime committed by a man named Charles Littlejohn. Littlejohn was an IT specialist who worked for the management consulting firm Booz Allen Hamilton, but his real job was at the Internal Revenue Service, better known as the IRS. He was a government contractor tasked with providing technical support to maintain the data pipeline used to store and monitor Americans' tax information. He was also a deeply thoughtful guy who believed it was unfair that wealthy people and politicians didn't have to disclose their tax returns. So he decided to do something about it, and that something was crime. Now, you may think what Littlejohn did was a good thing. You may have devoured all the articles written based on his disclosures. I know I did. But it is highly illegal for government employees to disclose tax returns, and Littlejohn did it at scale. He uploaded more than 400,000 returns of the wealthiest Americans to a private website, and in 2019 and 2020 gave that data to the New York Times and the public interest media outlet ProPublica. ProPublica's reporting concentrated on tax avoidance schemes that enable the ultra-wealthy to functionally zero out their tax liability, and they weren't afraid to name names. The New York Times focused its reporting on Donald Trump. Using 15 years of returns stolen by Littlejohn and tax documents provided by Trump's niece, Mary Trump, Times reporters Russ Buettner, Suzanne Craig, Mike McIntyre, Jim Tankersley, and David Leonard published a series of devastating articles that depicted Trump as a serial fabulist who spent decades ruining one business after another, only to be saved from catastrophe by his father, or The Apprentice, or dubious tax write-offs. Trump is currently suing the New York Times over many of those same articles. The reports by ProPublica and the Times were deeply embarrassing for the rich people targeted, but there's a reason that this kind of leak doesn't happen that often, and that's because it's virtually certain that the leaker will get caught. The IRS's internal systems log every keystroke and record who accessed which documents. So Charles Littlejohn knew when he gave those tax returns to reporters that the government was going to come after him, and it did. In November of 2021, two agents from the Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration, better known as TIGTA, showed up at Littlejohn's door. He said he wasn't going to talk without his lawyer present, and at first, he asserted his Fifth Amendment right not to incriminate himself. But in July of 2023, agents executed a search warrant for Littlejohn's home, after which he decided to begin cooperating with prosecutors. He told them everything he'd done and agreed to plead guilty to one felony count of disclosure of taxpayer information in violation of 26 U.S.C. Section 7213. The criminal information filed on September 29, 2023, stated that Littlejohn stole tax returns and return information associated with Public Official A and thousands of the nation's wealthiest people, and disclosed the tax information associated with Public Official A to News Organization 1 and the other
whatever you think is best.
News Organization 2. From that point forward, it was public knowledge that Public Official
whatever
A was
you
Donald
think
Trump,
is best,
and the news organizations were the New York Times and ProPublica. At the sentencing hearing on January 29, 2024, Judge Ana Reyes was clearly troubled by the fact that Littlejohn faced only one felony count for what she called the biggest heist in IRS history. She wanted to know why the Justice Department hadn't charged him for multiple counts under Section 7213 or for theft of government property. And the answer is that if you plead out, you trade your right to go to trial and maybe get acquitted for the certainty of a lower charge. And the inverse is also true. If you make prosecutors take you to trial and prove their case, they're going to throw the book at you, which is functionally a penalty for exercising your constitutional right to go to trial, something that every lawyer understands. But that is why the prosecutor, Jonathan Jacobson, was kind of squirrely when Judge Reyes asked him a whole bunch of questions about why there was just the one charge. Basically, she said, you guys are asking me to send this guy to jail for 5 years, the statutory maximum, while simultaneously saying you only charged him with the one count because he was so cooperative, and that math doesn't work. But in the end, she did sentence Littlejohn to 5 years in prison, far above the standard 10 months, in light of the thousands of tax returns he disclosed. For anyone who worries about the IRS or someone else going after them, now is probably a good time to wipe all your personal and private information off the internet. Your cell phone number, home address, email address, private social media accounts, and tons of sensitive data are shockingly easy to purchase by anybody online. But malicious actors cannot hurt you if they can't find you, and so you can fight back and take control of your private information by the most uncooperative data brokers and people search sites. I've been using Incognito for a while now, and in that time you can see I've been on hundreds of lists, some of which had a high sensitivity score, meaning the broker had tons of data on it. Luckily, Incogni has completed hundreds of takedowns for me. I could never do this myself, so thank you to Incogni for weeks of work and adding me to over 40 suppression lists. and Incogni will continue to conduct ongoing removals because even if the broker removes your data once, they can collect it and publish it again. So if online privacy is important to you, give Incogni a try. If you scan the code on the screen or click in the link in the description, you will get 60% off their annual unlimited plan, or try Incogni for 30 days. If you decide you want to keep it, you'll still get a 60% discount so long as you use our code LEGALEAGLE, one word. So sign up for Incogni or we will see you in court. After Little John's conviction came the lawsuits, or not. In general, you cannot sue the government. It's called the doctrine of sovereign immunity, and it's left over from ye olde England and the time of kings. TLDR, the king or the government has to specifically give you permission to sue it. It's called a waiver of sovereign immunity. But in this case,
my filters.
It did. Twice, actually. Both 26 U.S. Code Section 731 and 5 U.S. Code Section 552A, better known as the Privacy Act, authorize civil suits for the wrongful disclosure of taxpayer information. Here, Little John disclosed hundreds of thousands of returns, potentially exposing the government to major liability. And yet, very few of those victims were interested in suing to vindicate their rights. Now, we don't know why they chose not to sue, but we can speculate that those rich people who'd been the subject of unflattering articles on all the grubby things they did to avoid paying taxes weren't so eager to dredge it all up again. I mean,
my audio
demanding
input,
taxpayer money because you were harmed by a leak that showed how little you pay in taxes is kind of a bad look. In the event, only 2 billionaires sued, and one of them, the energy baron Kelsey Warren, didn't even sue the IRS. He sued Booz Allen in federal court in Maryland for invasion of privacy and failing to supervise Little John. That case is still ongoing.
All right, that's better.
Ken Griffin,
I think we can live with
the hedge
that.
fund billionaire and CEO of Citadel Securities, sued the IRS in December of 2023. He pointed to years of warnings from TIGTA that said the agency's security protocols were insufficient to protect taxpayer data. Griffin filed under Section 7431 and the Privacy Act, demanding $1,000 damages for each unauthorized disclosure of his tax return information as per the statute, and a judicial order forcing the IRS to formulate, adopt, and implement a data security plan that satisfies the requirements of the Privacy Act. Later, he dropped his demand for cash and just asked for a change in IRS policy, and the government fought back. The DOJ insisted that Little John was not a government employee and said Griffin should have to sue Booz Allen instead. They said Griffin failed to allege actual damages other than having people know your personal business, which is unpleasant, but it's not a monetary harm. It's not like Griffin was saying, since my tax returns got leaked, no one will do business with me and my share price tank. The government also pointed out that the Privacy Act allows taxpayers to sue for monetary damages, but not regulatory reform. So asking a court to rewrite IRS policy was probably off the table. Griffin's suit was filed in federal court in Florida and assigned to Judge Robert Scola. In April of 2024, the judge ruled that Griffin had failed to allege any actual damages under the Privacy Act, so he dismissed count 2. But the issue of whether Little John was actually an IRS employee was a live question, and so count 1 under Section 7431 survived. The case wobbled on until June of 2024 when the parties settled for $0 and a public apology by the IRS. The agency promised to make substantial investments in its data security to strengthen its safeguarding of taxpayer information and to work with TIGTA, the Government Accountability Office, other government agencies, and independent third parties to assess the IRS systems for potential vulnerabilities.
Vistaprint prints everything to get your brand in front of your fans, like t-shirts, water bottles, and totes, so everyone can gift it, work in it, and take it. Whether it's one of a kind or one for your whole team, if you need it, we print it with 20% off for new customers at Vistaprint.com.
It's like a treasure hunt. You never know what's going to burst through our back doors onto our shelves. You may find the one item that unleashes a new passion within you, or be inspired to take one you already have to a whole new level, because the treasure isn't on our shelves. It's inside you. We'll just help you find it.
So what's going on here? Got a gate?
At the Salvation Army thrift stores.
Supposed to blow up the gate with something?
And that brings us to January 29th, 2026, when the president, his company,
and his two
eldest sons filed this lawsuit against the IRS and the Treasury. They alleged violations of Section 7431 and the Privacy Act and demanded $10 billion to make them whole for the release of their tax returns. Trump is represented by Alejandro libel slander lawyer extraordinaire, and as someone who reads all of Trump's lawsuits, I will say that it's less ridiculous than Brito's usual output and lots less inflammatory. For instance, a federal judge in Florida just struck Trump's most recent lawsuit against the New York Times for being decidedly improper and impermissible, and scolded Brito for filing a complaint that stands unmistakably and inexcusably athwart the requirements of the federal rules of civil procedure. If not lawsuit, why lawsuit shaped? Trump's IRS suit is less worse than that, presumably because Brito couldn't copy off a
All right,
reading
I need to
file
start.
by Griffin's extremely good
I need to
lawyers
go
and
in
law
there.
firm Quinn Emanuel.
Get in
Brito
there.
also had the benefit of being able to cite Little John's deposition, which was taken by those
What
very
in the
confident lawyers
shit?
back in 2024, and that allowed Brito to get specific about the lack of technical safeguards and managerial supervision to prevent contractors from exfiltrating taxpayer data. And unlike Griffin's lawyers, Brito had all the documents from Little John's criminal case, so he had a lot going for him, and still he managed to find plenty of ways to be so weird. Like, remember I said that Judge Scola dismissed Griffin's Privacy Act claim for failure of state actual damages? Trump
We're between a
mostly
rock and a hard
yada,
place.
yada over that part too, saying stuff like defendants have caused plaintiffs reputational and financial harm, public embarrassment, unfairly tarnished their business reputation, portrayed them in a false light, and negatively affected President Trump and the other plaintiffs notwithstanding. Again, that is not a claim that you were economically harmed. The only evidence of harm Trump/Brito can point to are articles about Trump in the New York Times, which wrongly and specifically allege various
Bro, that we can't
irregularities related to
frickin'
Trump's
drop in
financial
over the
records
wall
and
is so
taxpayer history.
stupid.
The claim here is that reporters took Trump's true returns and wrote
I just
false
see that
stories about
motherfucking
him,
shit
and that's
crawling?
all the IRS's fault, which is, I mean, it's a bold strategy, Cotton. Also, Trump claims he was damaged because the disclosure forced him to defend against a meritless civil suit brought by the New York Attorney General based on wrongful interpretation of unauthorized disclosures of his confidential tax returns and related tax information. And there's no court in the land that's going to award damages on a theory of you leaked my federal tax returns and that allowed a state prosecutor to charge me with fraud. Brito also has a
Let's try this again.
bizarre calculation of damages based on page views.
All right,
Here's
that
part
was
of it.
even worse
He
than
says,
last time.
The unlawful disclosure of each confidential tax return and or return information for each
All right, we
year
got
and to
another.
each outlet, and each time that confidential tax return and or return information was viewed as a result of the unlawful disclosure constitutes a separate violation of 26 U.S.C. section 6103. And then he says this information was likely seen by tens of millions of viewers, and thus Trump is entitled to billions of dollars
I
in
wonder,
damages.
the
And,
door went down
okay,
earlier when I
come
threw a
with me
turd
to
at
this
it.
statute. We'll see if we can spot the slippage. Section A1 says, if any officer or employee of the United States discloses any return or return information with respect to a taxpayer in violation of Section 6103, the taxpayer may bring a civil action for damages against the United States in federal court. And then,
Oh,
it says
hey,
the victim
nice.
is entitled to the greater of $1,000 per disclosure or the actual damages sustained by the plaintiff. The $1,000
Watch
is
my
what we
grenade.
call presumed damages. That is, you don't have to prove that you were harmed, you just have to prove the disclosure. But if you can prove that you were harmed, you can recover your actual damages. So, assuming that Little John really was an employee of the federal government, then the government is on the hook for at least $1,000 for every return he personally disclosed, which is not nothing. We're talking about 15 years of returns for several entities with supporting tax documents and schedules, and Little John made those disclosures.
Man,
to
I still got
multiple
2
reporters that
minutes on my
easily
frickin'
add up
Quasar.
to hundreds of thousands of dollars in compensatory damages. But now look at Section A2. If any person who is not an officer or employee of the United States discloses any return, the taxpayer may bring a civil action for damages against such person in federal court. So if the person disclosing that tax return is not a government employee, then the government isn't liable. So it doesn't matter how many times people clicked on the Times stories about Trump's tax returns, because the reporters are not government employees. And see where Brito stuck in a bunch of citations to make it look like there's case law to back up this theory of liability? Those cases are all about mouthy IRS agents going around and telling a bunch of people that some guy is under investigation. And courts all say, yeah, the government's on the hook for $1,000 for every single person the agent blabbed to. But there's nothing about the government being liable for every subsequent revelation. No court says that the government owes money because someone who talked to Agent Blabbermouth posts about it on social media or puts it in the group chat. And we've done many videos on Trump's garbage lawsuits. Everyone knows by now that he demands a massive, crazy amount of money as a way of ginning up publicity and goosing the news cycle. But just to run this thing all the way to the ground, part of Trump's $10 billion demand includes punitive damages, which is money awarded to the plaintiff to punish the defendant for egregious bad behavior. But punitive damages are usually pegged to the compensatory damage award. The ratio is like 4 or 5 to 1, although sometimes courts will allow it to go as high as 10 to 1.
Tax Act knows early birds get the worm, so you can quickly file the moment tax season opens. Tax Act can help late birds file too. That's right, everyone gets worms. Tax Act, let's get them over with.
Let's do a little cocktail napkin math. Pick a number. Say Little John disclosed 1,000 Trump tax documents at $1,000 a pop, and maybe he leaked them to 8 reporters. That's $8 million in compensatory damages.
All right, this next time I'm coming back with my shit.
Punitive damage award and
I'll be
not
able
get
to do some
anywhere near
work.
$1 billion, much less $10 billion. And to be fair, Trump could try to prove that he was actually harmed economically by the disclosure of his tax returns, but I think his own prior statements might make that a little difficult. He spent at least 6 years promising to release his tax returns like every other presidential candidate in history, and claiming that he was economically harmed would, of course, force him to open up his finances and produce evidence, something he has never done once in all the lawsuits he filed. But look, leave aside the damages for a minute and forget how gross and unseemly it is for the president to rock up to an institution he controls and demand $10 billion of taxpayer money. The statutory basis for this lawsuit is not crazy. It's certainly no crazier than Ken Griffin's suit. If Trump had filed it in a timely fashion, he might well have been able to collect $1,000 per leaked tax document. But he didn't. Both statutes Trump is suing under have a 2-year statute of limitations. That means that the person whose tax returns were disclosed has 2 years from the day he discovers the leak to file a lawsuit. The first stories about Trump's tax returns appeared in the New York Times in September of 2020, which is certainly more than 2 years ago. But okay, he didn't know immediately that this was an IRS leak. It could have been hacked or a leak by his accountants. In the complaint, Brito says that President Trump did not discover the numerous violations of Section 6103 that were committed in connection with his personal tax returns until January 29, 2024, when the IRS sent a letter informing him that Little John had been sentenced. Oh, really? Well, as it happens, Brito's client posts 100 times a day to social media, so we have all got a front row seat to his every passing thought. And on November 23rd, 2023, Trump posted a link to an article about Little John entitled "Leaker of Trump Tax Documents Worked for Biden Beltway Donor that just won a big new IRS contract." So good luck with that claim that he didn't find out about it until January. But actually, we can date Trump's knowledge of Little John's disclosures earlier than that. Roll tape. Just kidding, there is no tape. It's illegal to record district court proceedings, but there is a transcript. This is from Little John's plea hearing on October 12, 2023, and look who's there! Alina Habba for Donald J. Trump. We have met Habba before on this channel. She used to be the one who signed her name to the abusive lawsuits before Trump moved to Florida and hired Brito. Judge Reyes asked if anyone in the courtroom would like to be heard pursuant to the Crime Victims' Rights Act, and Habba said she was here on behalf of President Trump, who was the victim of this atrocity. She called it an egregious breach by an agent of the IRS who targeted the President of the United States, among others, for political purposes and personal gain. She went on to suggest that this was a conspiracy involving Booz Allen Hamilton, a known government-contracted agency which hires CIA assets, and most notably Edward Snowden. Habba requested that the court reject the plea deal, or at least give Little John the maximum sentence allowed by law. Again, that hearing was on October 12th of 2023. Even if Trump only learned about the theft of his tax returns that day, the statute of limitations on this lawsuit would have expired in October of 2025. He filed it on January 29th, 2026. And speaking of calendars, note that this leak occurred between 2019 and 2020. If the IRS had failed to supervise Little John and allowed him to steal taxpayer records, then the person in charge of the entire federal government is the one who is ultimately responsible. The buck stops. Don't be silly, it never stops there. But if this were a real court case, Obviously, that would be an issue. As of this recording, we don't know how the IRS is going to respond. I mean, functionally, this is a question of how Trump intends to respond to himself, since he once again controls the IRS and the Justice Department. When Ken Griffin sued lawyers for the government, mounted a robust defense. Will the DOJ come forward this time and point out that the statute of limitations has long since expired on Trump's claims and his damages calculation is insane? Trump certainly doesn't seem to think that's what's about to happen, and
very interesting. I have another one where I virtually won the Mar-a-Lago break-in suit. And I have to work out something else to work out the settlement with myself.
okay, no. Trump did not virtually win a lawsuit involving a break-in at Mar-a-Lago. We made a whole video about that. There was no lawsuit. What happened is that Trump filed an administrative complaint that was defective in about 50 different ways.
Bro, get out of my
Lawsuit, and then
frickin' way.
Announced that the Justice Department had agreed to settle
Good
with
God.
him for
Good
$230
fucking
million.
God, dude. Can I get some cooperation, please? Like, what the fuck?
By dragging a federal judge into it.
From hard hats to
Where the fuck did you come from?
Rangers get your safety needs covered. Literally.
Good
Shop
fucking
Rangers
God,
has
man.
brief safety products.
If I would have been able to get my shot off. If I would have been able to get my shot off, guys.
Get it done.
Dying Light the Beast. Get 25% off.
Judge Kathleen Williams, who was appointed by Barack Obama, may have qualms about approving a settlement involving billions of dollars of taxpayer money for a claim which is defective on its face. There's also the minor issue of the Constitution's Emoluments Clause, which says that the president shall receive for his services a compensation which shall neither be increased nor diminished during the period for which he shall have been elected, and he shall not receive within that period any other emolument from the United States. That would appear to bar the president from getting paid more than his salary from the federal government. During Trump's first term, lots of people filed lawsuits alleging that he violated the Emoluments Clause by getting paid to run a hotel in D.C.'s old post office building, which is owned by the federal government. Trump also had hundreds of ways to cash in on the job, particularly by staying in his own hotel every weekend and charging the Secret Service for rooms. Those cases failed, mostly thanks to the Supreme Court, which ruled that basically no one had standing to sue in court to enforce the Emoluments Clause. I do wonder, though, whether Judge Williams might balk at signing off on a settlement between Trump and the IRS, which appear to be patently unconstitutional. Asked about the conflict during a Senate hearing, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who is also the acting director of the IRS, said that there was no conflict of interest at all because actually the Justice Department is the one in charge. He's just the guy signing the check.
I'll follow the law, and I'm not involved with any of this. It stems from justice.
So you, even though the Treasury Judgment Fund is called the Treasury Judgment Fund, you have no control over the Treasury Judgment Fund.
We act as paymaster.
So you will sign it.
Where did you even come from, bro? You weren't anywhere close to me, dog.
The Treasury Judgment Fund.
I would
So
assume it would
tired
be
of these
wired.
enemies just
But I don't want to end this video
frickin'
without
materializing
acknowledging
right behind me,
more
man.
than the legal merits of this late Math and Calendar Challenge complaint. The leader of our government slashed food stamps and foreign aid. He's telling ordinary Americans that they have to work longer so that the Social Security Trust Fund doesn't go bankrupt. He's fired tens of thousands of civil servants because he says we
Bro,
can't afford them. He's
fuck away
effectively
from
raised
me.
taxes on every American with his tariffs. He cut healthcare subsidies. He caused insurance premiums to skyrocket. And now he's going to give himself $10 billion of our money because someone illegally released information Trump himself has been promising to put out for years. This is stunningly corrupt. And every single one of us should be curious.
Now, all this highlights why it's so important to get a great lawyer when you're dealing with your own case. Now, after I started this channel, every week I'd get hundreds of comments and emails from viewers who are dealing with legal problems, and they'd ask, can you help me
I'm also
find a lawyer?
super tired of
How do I know if
stratagem
this attorney
bounce.
is any good? And there's a massive gap in our justice system. It's that people don't know how to find the right lawyer for their specific situation. They're scared, they're overwhelmed, and they end up doing nothing or hiring the first attorney who calls them back. And that really bothered me. So I started to wonder, what if there was a different way? What if we could build a law firm that actually lived up to the values that I talk about on this channel? Transparency, accessibility, putting clients first, instead of chasing billable hours. A firm where you don't need to pay anything up front, and your lawyer only get paid if you do, to maximize your opportunity for justice. So a few years ago, I decided to fix that problem. I decided to start my own personal injury law firm. And honestly, it wasn't an easy choice. But I realized I was in this unique position. I had this platform, this community, and the experience. Not to get rich, trust me, there are easier ways to make money than starting a law practice. But we did it because access to justice shouldn't be a luxury. Because finding the right legal representation shouldn't feel like playing Russian roulette with our future. And when you work with my firm, you're not just getting a lawyer. You're getting a team that understands that behind every case is a real person with real stakes. If we can't represent you, or you're in a state where we don't practice, we'll take the time to try to match you with an attorney in my personal network of lawyers. A national network of some of the best lawyers in the country who actually specialize in what you're going through, located right where you are, not just whoever happens to be available. So if you're dealing with a personal injury, a car crash, a data breach, sexual harassment, a social security or workers' comp issue, give us a call at the number on screen or click on the link below. Now, I can't represent everyone that watches this channel. I wish I could. But what I can do is make sure that when you need legal help, you have somewhere to turn to that you can trust. So whether it's me handling your case or the incredible attorneys we've partnered with, you'll get the same principles of honesty and education that we bring to every video. And if you're dealing with a legal issue and you're not sure where to start, check out the link in the description. Let's have a conversation about how we can help you find not just a lawyer, but the right lawyer for your situation. Because at the end of the day, that's what this is all about, making sure that when life gets complicated,
Call him. If you need
have to
supplies,
fix it.
call him. I got a
Which is
supply
why
pack.
when you need a lawyer,
If you need
you
supplies,
don't just
call
need a
him.
legal team. You need the Eagle team.
When it comes to travel, you're a winner. That's why when you sit behind a crime baby, it stops being such a baby. That's why you rent with National. You can choose a car and go.
Let's reload!
You have been a stalwart line of freedom. Extract when ready.
Well, that could have been much worse.
Calling down a sentry! Requesting move! Feels good!
Diver, you are moving outside the mission area. Diver, you are moving outside the mission area.
Request approved. Deploying reinforcements.
Dude, I don't know what the fuck keeps killing me, but I literally just explode into nothing.
It looks like there's a gun around here. Big gun. Gun emplacement. Dang!
ETA, T-minus 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Good job, divers. Mission successful.
Galaxy may be spared the tyranny of the cyborgs.
Sorry for all my bitching. Good work.
This is Pelican 1. Helldivers are outside the extraction zone. Landing and boarding. Approved.
Allied destroyer has joined squadron.
Always many sacrifices were made today. We will never forget.
The galactic war waits for no one. Are you ready, Helldiver?
Mission coordinates locked.
I gotta piss, guys. I'll be right back.
Hellpods prime. Engaging orbital thrusters. Orbit synchronized. Hellpod launch suspended. Hellpods primed. Helldivers to Hellpods. Repeat, Helldivers to Hellpods.
The forms of these cyborgs differ from those fought in the First Galactic War. They have altered their augmentations, but their violent, hateful nature remains the same. Cyberstan is the core from which the cyborg and automaton war machine emanates. We must liberate it for the freedom of the galaxy. The cyborgs have constructed a network of mega-factories across Cyberstan. They are obscenities of steel and concrete, precision-built for the mass production of unsanctioned murder. We will use every weapon in our vast arsenal to ensure they are destroyed. Early reports indicate the mega.
Thanks for sticking around, guys.
Contain crude
Just for that, I'm gonna send all of you friend requests.
cultural monuments, evidence of the dystopian go unchecked.
Can we drop in there? Can we drop in there? Is that allowed?
Here? What about here?
Yeah. Screw breaking down those frickin' gates. Yeah, you know, I think the guns are good, but it seems like laser is really good for this. Maybe frickin' gun chair too. Maybe. Or mortar. Mortar might be cool. Let's give it a shot.
Launch initiated.
All right.
This is it, Helldiver. Today, you fight for a free cyberspace.
Sorry, S3, but it looks like you might have to take the brave way out.
Requesting tag pack! Reinforcing!
Oh, my frickin' supply pack, or my quasar landed on the frickin' rigging. Damn.
Requesting sentry! Calling in reinforcements! Get some! Get some!
God damn, I got comboed.
Request approved. Deploying reinforcements. Ready to liberate. Helldivers never die.
Dude, I'd be having a much better time if I had my Quasar. My Quasar got ripped off.
Rack empty. Objective located. West. Point me to the enemy. Orbital inbound. Calling down a sentry. Reload. Reinforcing! New mag! Last reload! Calling in reinforcements! Out of ammo!
Oh, it's already empty shit.
Objective complete.
Get this dude.
Reinforcing! Main objective nearby. Support weapon! Calling in reinforcements! Tac pack inbound! How about a nice cup of liver tea? Freedom never sleeps! Out of sync! Requesting sentry! Injury? What injury? Mag's empty! Orbital inbound!
Objective critical stratagem available. Objective critical stratagem no longer available.
Woo! We are focusing, guys. Sorry, I'm not chatting
Calling in a
more.
hell bomb!
We are focusing, guys. Woo! Man, this is intense.
I got the terminal! Hell bomb armed! Clear the area!
Freedom spreads yet further. Extract when ready.
New mag!
Objective near your position. Objective located northwest, 100 meters.
Reinforcing!
Requesting advanced weaponry. Requesting terminal. Automaton outpost destroyed. Requesting air support.
I need a frickin' supply pack.
Calling down a never die.
Extraction is available.
Oh yeah, my frickin' mortar is still alive. That's badass. We are just getting the fuck out of here. There's no reason to fucking hang out.
Reinforcement budget depleted. Request approved. Reinforcements have been launched.
Joining the fray. Requesting advanced weaponry. Mag's empty! New mag!
Warning, you are leaving the mission area.
Requesting sentry!
I wanna go that way. I hate that. I hate that. I wanna go that way. That's it, man. That's all she wrote.
Additional reinforcement funding approved.
Reinforcing! Reloading!
You may proceed to extraction when ready.
Requesting advanced weaponry! Requesting advanced weaponry!
200 meters. Additional reinforcement funding approved. Enemy tactical asset within range.
Not today!
Real bonk hours.
Calling in reinforcements! Orbital inbound! Allied destroyer leaving squadron.
Calling down supplies!
Calling down a support weapon!
Reloading!
Mission at 20 minutes remaining. Supply.
Got a sample!
Tagging map, southeast, 50 meters.
Reloading!
You may proceed to extraction when ready. Calling in a hell bomb. Additional reinforcement funding approved. Request approved. Reinforcements on the way. Dropship!
Calling down a support weapon! Sending out an SOS! Requesting tac pack! Calling...
Extraction is available.
Additional reinforcement funding approved.
Orbital! Calling in reinforcements!
Automaton outpost scrapped. Enemy tactical asset within range.
Sample collected!
Allied destroyer joining squadron, deploying Helldiver.
Jack padding inbound! No. Calling down a support weapon! Requesting air support! Going down a support weapon! Get some! Get some! Package acquired! Requesting sentry!
Additional reinforcement funding approved.
Reinforcing! I've got you! New mag! Let's reload!
Additional reinforcement funding approved.
That's it. Another successful mission for democracy. Oh shit. We got one more. There's another diver.
Ready to liberate!
Look at this dude go. Look at him go. Freaking professional mercenary shit.
Not today! Eat this!
Oh yeah. Frickin' walking barrage is a great idea, huh?
Additional reinforcement funding approved.
I bet the 380 is pretty good in these too.
Going to flag beacon. Habitation of democracy. Reloading.
Dang, it takes quite a bit of damage to bring those gates down, huh? I was able to bring a gate down earlier with one quasar shot and a turret stratagem.
Mission at 10 minutes remaining. Additional reinforcement funding approved.
Show me what you got.
Requesting air support.
Thanks to them, a free dog
GG.
will soon rise up on Cyberstan once more.
Yeah, great op, guys. Sincerely.
Welcome aboard, Helldiver. We can never have too many heroes fighting for peace.
Oh yeah.
Mission accomplished, Helldiver. One small step for democracy. One giant leap in the death path of our enemies.
Mission coordinates locked. Hellpods prime. Engaging orbital thrusters. Orbit synchronized.
Here? What about here?
The rail cannon doesn't one-shot those big dudes, does it? It would be sick if it did. Oh yeah. Now that my other screen is back, maybe we can put on some listenable media. Have a moment. We're back. I'm getting hungry. I guess this is a good excuse to maybe get a bite.
Super Earth. Our home. Prosperity.
Oh no, I can't hear anything. I think I need to restart my game. Oh no, I need to put headphones on and then try. That's much better. Like I said, we are hungry, so I need to snack on something.
One shudders to envisage what repulsive larvae gestates within the gloom as we speak.
Mission coordinates locked. Hellpods prime. Engaging orbital thrusters. Orbit synchronized.
Outside compared to the R1S, but
that winning feeling you love? Bring it everywhere you go with the Hollywood Casino app.
Your next big thrill is just a tap away. New players get 300 bonus spins, plus up to 1,000 back in casino credits. Hollywood Casino. Download and play today.
Is recognized.
May I respond very briefly to her statement?
Well, I think we can do that
Okay.
probably on one of our members' time.
Okay, thank you. I don't want that to get away. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Behind me, I have 3 documents from the DOJ production that are emblematic of the massive failure of the DOJ to comply with the Epstein Files Transparency Act. To my right is an email that was sent by the victim's lawyers to the DOJ. It was a list of names not to redact. A list of names not to release. What did the DOJ do with this email? They released this email in the document production. Literally the worst thing you could do to the survivors, you did. And they're getting phone calls. A lot of these people didn't want to be known. And we know you touched the document because you redacted one name and you redacted the lawyer's name, but you left the survivor's name there. The next document I want to show you, that was in the title, the victims' survivors' names, all right? The title of this one is Child Sex Trafficking. Co-conspirators, fully redacted. And by the way, I'm gonna unredact them here. Les Wexner is in this. Now your your deputy attorney general said, oh, well, he appears hundreds of times in the files. But he doesn't appear in this file until I forced you to release it, where he's listed as a co-conspirator, not to tax evasion, but to child sex trafficking, not to prostitution, not to money laundering, child sex trafficking. And then finally, what we have here is the third exhibit that I have is emblematic of the FD302 release. These are the documents that we need that you're holding on to and over-redacting because they have the names of the men who are implicated. How do we know? Because the survivors gave testimony to the FBI, and it's in there. And what happens when you go to the portal at the DOJ to look at what's behind this redaction? Another redaction. So we can't even see them. And then there's some of these files you've pulled down from the website that we will never see because we can't search the redactions. So I have several questions for you. Who's responsible? Are you able to track who in your organization made this massive failure and released the victims' names? Are you able to track who it was that obscured Les Wexner's name as a co-conspirator in an FBI document? Do you have that kind of accountability?
I believe Wexner's name was listed more than 4,000 times.
Yeah, I already told you that. This is where he's listed as a co-conspirator.
Can I finish my answer? Come on, let me finish my answer. We corrected that within 40 minutes. He was already, you're acting like everybody's trying to cover up Wexner's name.
Reclaiming my time.
I'm gonna answer this question.
Reclaiming my time. Mr. Chairman.
This is how this works.
Can I have my time back? Mr. Chairman.
The gentlelady can give her answer. The time belongs to the gentleman from
All right, I'm reclaiming my time.
Can I give my answer?
So I'm gonna put the language of the bill up on the screen.
Chairman, may I give my answer on that?
Here's
a political
the question.
joke, and I need to give my answer on that.
We'll let the Attorney General respond, and then the gentleman can move to his next question.
It's my time.
Within 40 minutes, you asked me a question. Within 40 minutes, Wexner's name was added back.
Within 40 minutes of me catching you red-handed.
There was one redaction out
Where
of
he's
over
listed as a co-conspirator.
And we invited you in. This guy has Trump
Gentlemen.
derangement syndrome. He needs to get, you're a failed politician.
Gentlemen,
You need to get on these matters.
The chairman, please restore his time and remind the witness of the rules here.
There is no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals.
Is that your position as well?
My position is any victim who comes forward, of course, we would love to hear from them. 1-800-CALL-FBI. Did you ask Merrick Garland that the last 4 years? Did you talk about Epstein?
I am reclaiming my time. I'm glad you're asking about Merrick Garland.
You don't get to reclaim
because
time
this
when
is
you don't-
bigger than
when you can't-
Watergate.
when I don't answer a question the
This
way you
goes
want.
over 4 administrations. You don't have to go back to Biden. Let's go back to Obama. Let's go back to George Bush. This covers.
Look, Ma, I'm an influencer. Becoming an Epstein YouTuber was not
Allied destroyer
on my
has
personal
joined
2026 bingo card. But here we are.
Engaging orbital thrusters.
I was a little bit nervous at first when things started going so viral, and it started picking up.
Orbit synchronized.
Welcome back, Defenders. This is insane. Russia has begun restricting Telegram. This is part of Russia's latest push to tighten internet
Welcome
control.
to the Star of
And
Morning.
there are over 75 million monthly users of Telegram inside Russia, including 85% of people between the ages of 12 and 24. This was Russia's last free communication platform. Everything else has been blocked or restricted by the Kremlin. And the government is doing this because they want all of their citizens using the official government surveillance app Max. Max to come pre-installed on all devices starting in September of last year. The microphone is always on, the camera will randomly switch on to watch you in your home, and the FSB gets to read everything you say and do. So surprisingly, Russians don't want to use the official government surveillance app to talk to their family and friends. Online, Russians are complaining anywhere and everywhere. So far on Telegram, I think you can still send text messages, but you can't share files. Most Russians are complaining about issues with loading media files, sending or receiving pictures or videos. Here is the founder of Telegram, Pavel Durov. This is his reaction. Russia is restricting access to Telegram in an attempt to force its citizens to switch to a state-controlled app built for surveillance and political censorship. 8 years ago, Iran tried the same strategy and failed. It banned Telegram on made-up pretexts, trying to force people onto a state-run alternative. Despite the ban, most Iranians still use Telegram, bypassing censorship, and prefer it to the surveilled apps. Restricting citizens' freedom is never the right answer. Telegram stands for freedom of speech and privacy, no matter the pressure. It's interesting that he would mention Iran, because Russia just gave the FSB a kill switch to take out all communication in Russia should there be an uprising against the Putin regime. This is precisely what the Iranian government did when protesters took to the streets. So this was a law passed in the State Duma on January 27th, and it lets the FSB order total communication blackouts for vaguely defined security threats with no clear limits and no oversight. Telecom operators must cut internets, mobile, landline, and messaging services.
I'm going to deliver a 380.
The moment the FSB demands it. No court order needed, no way to appeal. The law also protects all telecom communication. It protects all the private companies. If Russians lose connection to work, bank, energy services, or family, there's no way that they can be sued and they're not liable. This is a Orwellian police state. The level of surveillance that Putin now has over his own people, the amount of control. This is only something the KGB and the Soviets could have dreamed of, and they finally achieved it in Russia.
What the fuck? I threw my orbital. Why did it not go out?
But let's talk about how this affects the war, because this was incredibly stupid of the Russians to do exactly 1 week after losing Starlink. The front is absolutely in tatters.
How come I keep
Starlinks are
throwing
dead,
my orbital? It doesn't
and now
work.
They're jamming Telegram too. How are we supposed to fight? With pigeons? Boo-hoo, Russia. Boo-hoo. You can always lay down your arms and surrender to Ukraine, and then you don't have to die. Because your government obviously doesn't care about you.
Orbital inbound!
Russian military rushes satellite internet terminals to the front after communication collapse. We're getting pictures of these goofy satellite dishes on the front lines. Russian frontline forces are trying to come up with alternatives, and none of these are as good as Starlink. And the Ukrainian military is still using thousands of Starlink terminals on the front, while the Russians are basically blind as far as communication. They can no longer share pictures and videos over Telegram now, if they have an internet signal. This is pretty funny, guys. I'm enjoying this week. Russian military promises $240 to Ukrainians who register.
Dude, what does it take?
Starlink
What does it take to
terminals
get your frickin'
for them.
orbital
So the
out?
Russians are trying to
I had to throw it 4 times.
message Ukrainians to say, put our Starlink terminal in your system on the whitelist, and we'll send you some money. If any Ukrainian is caught doing this, they'll face 15 years to life imprisonment. But Ukraine's Ministry of Defense saw this coming. They say that specialists anticipated such workarounds in advance, and all schemes like this will be identified and shut down. The Russians are desperate. They're still going to try and beg random Ukrainians to put their serial number and whatever in the system. But I'm convinced at this point, Ukraine knows exactly where these terminals are. I think Starlink is now sharing the locations of terminals that are being used unauthorized. So if Ukraine wants to send a drone or a strike, this is a good way for the Russians to die, and I think they know this now. Russia's not doing very well on the front lines, so the only thing
I'm not having a
do
good one with stratagems this mission.
Propaganda wins or fake
I'm struggling with my
Russia
stratagems.
filmed its victory in Tunavate with drones.
I'm not sure
An
the
hour
jammer's
later,
a good
Ukrainian
explanation
forces
for
wiped
why
out.
I couldn't throw my
Russian
stratagem, because if
infiltrators
the
planted
jammer was out, I
flags
shouldn't
and
have even been
recorded
able to
footage
pull the
in
stratagem.
Ternuvate, a village 15 kilometers from the front line in Zaporizhia, then lost the entire sabotage team to a Ukrainian clearing operation. I can show you where this is located on the map. So the Russians have been trying to gain full control of Dobrovila for a pretty long time. It's the kill zone. There are no Ukrainian defenders there. The Russians come into the city, Ukraine hunts them day and night, they just die. But 2 Russians took a flag, I'm sure they were ordered to, and they went to this next village over here in order to take a picture or video. So this is about 15 kilometers from territory that the Russians actually control. Here's the drone video that they were ordered to do for propaganda reasons. They were then killed within an hour, and then Ukrainian defenders showed up to the exact same spot to take down the Russian flag and then put up the Ukrainian flag. So you can see how this is geolocated. There's an orange square where there's a manhole. There's a yellow line where there's this car, and then there's this red line. And it's the exact same thing, red line, yellow line, manhole with the orange square. So the Russians were standing on this side of the sign when the Ukrainians killed them and took down their flag. They're on the other side of the sign, but it's the same location. Ukraine still controls this settlement. And I can't stop staring at these FPV videos. I think I can actually share more war footage with you now because the drone video always cuts out before the explosion because the camera feed is lost. So we can actually watch quite a bit of this. In this particular video, a drone operator is waiting on a supply road. You ground the drone to save on battery life. As soon as the supply truck goes by, the drone operator takes off and then that truck is destroyed. Here's another video I want to share with you. This one went viral. A Ukrainian drone operator found a hangar containing supply vehicles. And unfortunately, there are more than just supply vehicles in this hangar. So this operator flew in and saw 4 cars and was trying to decide which car to go for. And he eventually slammed his drone into the car that had supplies in it, so I can
Point me to the enemy.
pause it at the moment. You can see there's a rucksack and various materials, so perhaps this vehicle was going to be used soon to do a supply run. But yes, those are horses in the background. Russia is still using horses on the front lines, and Ukraine's drone operators are trying not to harm or kill them. But my guess is they were locked in this barn. And once the first drone operator found the site,
fuck off.
Drones are going to arrive soon. They're going to destroy all 4 of these vehicles.
Everyone knows there was not an enemy there.
Countermeasures, and they're getting pretty weird. Let me share this video with you. I'll share a little bit.
На первый взгляд, довольно странная машина. По меркам классического вооружения, ни грузового отсека, ни пулемета, ни привычной брони.
God, I suck. I fucking blow ass, obviously. No, don't call frickin' reinforcements, you stupid pig. Fuck you. So tired of being fucking crowded.
Что вот это такое за интересная конструкция? Зачем она нужна? Я так понимаю, это пока только такой тестовый. Это, да, тестовый вариант. Задумка такая, что валы вращаются, тем самым приводя в движение вот эту, так скажем, вентилятор с концами. Когда FPV пытается ударить, тросы ее либо сбивают, либо откидывают в сторону.
This is a Russian propaganda piece to give their own soldiers hope that a technological solution is coming for the FPV drone problem. When it's not, look at the inside of this vehicle in order to create 4 spinning rotors at the same time. How are you supposed to adapt this to a tank or an armored personnel carrier or a civilian truck? This is what the average Russian soldier is driving on the front lines now. This is a schematic for having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rotating blades. And I'm pretty confident a Ukrainian drone operator can still destroy this vehicle. More than likely, this would kill a Russian soldier trying to get in and out of the vehicle. The Russians are desperate. They don't know what else to do. And here's an interesting video. This Russian soldier lost his arm 6 months ago, and he's never received medical treatment or been evacuated from the front lines. So he managed to film this video and smuggle it out, begging to be released. He lost his arm 6 months ago, and his commanding officer won't let him discharge.
Я Гизатуллин Ренат Радикович, позывной Гиза. Нахожусь в Красногоровке. Ампутированная рука, в госпитале не был, не вывозили, эвакуацию пока не дают. Вот, нахожусь уже 6-й месяц. Прошу помочь мне с эвакуацией, пожалуйста.
The Russians are forcing their amputees to continue fighting and serving on the front lines. These men have to film like self-ransom videos hoping they'll go viral before they can be discharged from military service. I also saw this video, I want to tie this in. And this Russian volunteer is going to demonstrate why the average tourniquet being given to a frontline Russian soldier is garbage. It's been this way for 4 years, and I don't know why I'm suspicious that a lot of these tourniquets come from China. China doesn't care about the quality. But look at how bad these tourniquets are being given to Russian soldiers.
Reloading!
No longer available.
Блин, вообще ни о чем, просто ни о чем. Здесь лучше. Сильно лучше. Да, движемся к центру. Говно.
I'm convinced that Russia's military command doesn't actually want survivors. If a Russian soldier takes a bullet to an arm or a leg, rather than caring for them, amputating them, and then having a cripple survive on disability in Russia for life, they would just prefer the Russian man die. I'm convinced that is their objective when they allow defective tourniquets being issued to their frontline soldiers. Pro-Russian Ukrainian partisans claim sabotage of Russian communications tower in the Belgorod Oblast. Belgorod is been without power the last couple days, and Atesh is currently in the city. Atesh is a sabotage group, and they set fire to things and disrupt things. Nobody really knows who they are, and they have to keep it that way so the FSB can't find them. But they're frequently blowing up communication towers or railroad switching stations or power boxes or anything they can to slow the Russians down. About 455 apartment buildings lose heating in Russia's Belgorod after Ukraine's drone attack. This was 3 days ago in response to Russia's attacks on Ukraine's energy grid. And the situation is so bad, people are just being evacuated. The governor of Belgorod is telling its citizens, if you have family and friends in other cities, just leave until we can fix the situation. But I don't think Russia's going to be able to restore the power and heating in most of the city until at least the deep part of this winter, the deep cold, is over. And this Russian citizen is going to show you what's wrong with his apartment. So he spent his own money to buy an electric heater, but he's going to show the radiators on the wall and how damaged everything in Belgorod and Ukraine is when the heat goes out, the electricity goes out, and then water in the pipes freeze.
Короче, наконец-таки решил перестать экономить на себе и порадовал себя любимого и купил себе, смотрите, вот такую вот тему. Жесткий обогреватель, а то что-то прохладненько как-то.
So once the pipes freeze and turn to ice, frost wedging cracks the pipes. The pipes can't be used until they're replaced. Does this Russian man have a Siberian tiger floor rug? In Vladivostok, a thermal power plant caught fire. About 50,000 residents of Vladivostok are currently without electricity. Ukraine had nothing to do with this. This is just things in Russia catching on fire. The U.S. boards another vessel from Russia's Shadow Fleet. The U.S. Department of Defense put out this video showing that they've intercepted another Shadow Fleet tanker, this time in the Indian Ocean. This is the tanker, the HD2, and it was fleeing the U.S. Navy. It must have left Venezuela full of oil, gone through the Panama Canal, and it was trying to make it to India. The United States Navy caught up with the ship and then took control of it. Donald Trump has declared that all of Venezuela's oil belongs to him, so he's going to sell this oil and then keep the money for himself in his Qatari bank account. It's all pretty insane here in the United States, but this is the new normal for now. Either way, this doesn't benefit Russia. Canadian Airlines suspend Cuba flights as island is set to run out of jet fuel. This is a story that no one is paying attention to, but the United States is using blackmail and coercion to intensify the blockade on Cuba. Cuba is communist. Cuba has been unfriendly to the United States for 60 or 70 years. And Donald Trump basically has put sanctions and an embargo on the island so they can't get any oil or fuel.
Bro.
Cuba was being supplied oil and fuel from Venezuela, but they're not allowed to do that anymore. So this is going to cause a catastrophe. The entire economy of Cuba, it's pretty bad to begin with, but it's going to get worse if they don't have any fuel at all.
Oh my god.
For trucks and
Dude,
automobiles
Jesus
or whatever.
Christ.
But there's something that Donald Trump wants from the regime on the island. Donald Trump doesn't have a problem with dictatorships.
I don't know why my
He's
dude
not
just
trying to
wouldn't
bring
look up,
democracy
but
to Cuba.
whatever.
He wants something
You
from
got it.
Cuba. And until Cuba gives Donald Trump money or resources or land or real estate, the embargo is going to continue, and the people of Cuba are going to continue suffering. Russian drone attacks on Ukraine killed 4, including a mother and child. This is a terrorist attack. This happened 2 nights ago in Odessa. A Russian Shahed drone slammed into the roof of this large residential apartment building in Odessa. There was a time where this would be the top news story in the world, and everyone would be uniting to reject terrorism and support people being bombed in their homes. But I don't think this even made news anywhere. This is just another Sunday night in Ukraine. I'm sorry, guys. I mean, I'm doing what I can to raise awareness, but if kamikaze drones slamming into residential apartment buildings doesn't make news, what should make news anymore, guys? This is Ukraine's energy company DTEK, and they're showing the before and after. So this is the thermal power plant that supplied heat to 500,000 people in Kyiv, and this is what the Russians have done to it, striking it numerous times with ballistic and cruise missiles. It's going to take Ukraine years and years to replace these facilities. Russia also continues blowing up gas stations, just any gas station anywhere, hit it with a Shahid drone and then try and get the tanks underneath. This is the former home that was hit by a Shahid drone, killing a mother and a child. The mother, Svetlana Spitsnya, was murdered, along with her 10-year-old son, Mikhailo. He's wearing a Transformers t-shirt.
Destroyer leaving squadron.
This is what the rescue and repair crews of Ukraine currently look like, trying to fix facilities and save lives in negative 20 degrees Celsius weather. These men are heroes. What more can I say? Like, I just can't imagine what it's currently like for the people there. At the moment, residents of Ukraine, or Kyiv, they're only getting about 4 or 5 hours of electricity a day. This is the schedule, saying that the electricity will be on between 4 and 6, and then just for an hour and a half in the evening. But it's still freezing. It's still below 0 temperatures. Concerning the politics, I wish I had good news. The United States is pressuring Ukraine and Russia to end the war by June, according to Zelensky. And Donald Trump is starting to freak out about the midterm elections. He made a campaign promise 2 years ago that he could end this war in 24 hours. And it's now been dragging on for almost a year and a half of his since he was elected. And he's trying to force Ukraine to capitulate or surrender or give Russia something so Russia will stop, agree to a ceasefire, and then the Trump family can start making billions of dollars in business deals with Vladimir Putin. But the Russians are also pretty frustrated too. No rosy future. Lavrov slams Trump administration in a recent interview. Russia accuses the United States of backing out of an alleged Ukraine territory surrender agreement. So Lavrov is saying that in Alaska, Putin and Trump agreed that Ukraine would give up territory. This is what Lavrov said in a recent interview. Made in the autumn, a couple of weeks after the very positive meeting between Putin and Trump in Anchorage. That is, it seems like they are telling us that we need to resolve the Ukrainian issue. Well, in Anchorage, we accepted the United States' proposal. That is, if you approach it in a manly way, they made the offer, we accepted. The problem must be solved. And I actually remember this confusion. After Trump met with Putin in Alaska, he was all excited. One, he claims that Putin agreed to meet Zelensky face-to-face, which never happened. But he also was talking about this stupid land swap deal. He said the Russians agreed to a land swap. Here's a clip from BBC News. This is August 8th of 2025. And this is what Trump said. I'm just going to play like 10 seconds.
So we're looking at that, and we're actually looking to get
I gotta stop turning around, because whenever I turn around, they frickin' spawn dudes right behind me. I swear they do. They're spawning right fucking behind me.
We're going to get some switch. There'll be some swapping of territories.
There will be some swapping of territories. He said this, and I said, what is he talking about? Russia's never going to give up any territory. And Trump is so stupid that when he's sitting down with Putin and the translators, the Russians told Trump we're willing to give up our claims to the rest of Kherson and the rest of Zaporizhia if Ukraine will give us Donetsk now. And Trump is so stupid, he interpreted that as the Russians agreed to give up Kherson and give up Zaporizhia in exchange for the rest of Donetsk. Which would actually be a pretty good deal for Ukraine. Like, if Ukraine could get all of this territory back and then isolate Crimea, completely eliminate the land bridge. This is a hypothetical that's not going to happen, but this is how incompetent and stupid the entire Trump administration is. Where Trump, for like a couple weeks, genuinely believed the Russians agreed to give up their territory in Zaporizhia for Donetsk.
Bro, the
which the Russians never
freaking
agreed
stratagem,
to.
dog.
The Russians are upset because it's been 6 or 7 months, and Trump has been unable to force Ukraine to give up this territory. Let's now get to the good news for Ukraine. Why are 15 EU states lining up to buy Ukrainian weapons? The first Ukrainian-designed drone produced in Germany is expected within days. Here's the announcement from President Zelensky. Today we are opening exports. 10 export centers across Europe will be operating as early as 2026 in the Baltic and Nordic states. 10 representative offices will be active in 2026. By mid-February, we will already see the production of our drones in Germany. I will receive the first one. This is a production line that is operational. Production lines are also operating in the UK. All of these are Ukrainian technologies. So what Ukraine is doing is they're opening drone factories in other countries. This is beneficial since Russia can't bomb them, Russia can't
Great work,
bomb
guys.
power.
I wasn't even able to get on target.
Are going to employ a lot of Ukrainian
Constantly
refugees.
repulsed by the
So
fucking
this will be
bots.
jobs. But these factories can take orders and then not fulfill the orders for maybe 6 months or a year. So all this capital will be brought in up front. They'll be producing drones. The per unit costs for use by Ukraine's military might be really low, but perhaps Denmark or Sweden or the UK will pay commercial rates, so there's room for a profit. If Ukraine can start generating profit and revenue from selling their drones to other countries, then they can use that profit to make more drones for themselves. There's a tremendous economic benefit here, as well as a logistics benefit, and it's actually really smart that Ukraine is now going to do this. Ukraine secures 150 Swedish Gripens and 100 French Rafales in twin fighter jet deal. Thank you so much to Sweden and France. France offers replacement radar for Ukraine's
I got
SAM-PT
40 seconds on my
while
380.
undergoing repairs. Once again, thank you, France. Tokyo joins NATO's Pearl initiative with non-lethal military equipment funding for Kyiv. Japan doesn't want to buy offensive weapons, but radar systems and bulletproof vests count, so thank you so much, Japan. Lithuania launches their 4th Radaman campaign, fundraising 5.7 million euros. Thank you so much, Lithuania. I mentioned this organization called Balakun. Join the conversation. One of my supporters on Patreon, this is David, he sent me this message and I want to share it with you guys. I was wondering if you could give a short promotion for balakun.org. It is a volunteer organization that provides English education as well as other languages to Ukrainians. As an old age pensioner, I have almost no money to donate, but I can donate my time. I have been assigned 2 active Ukrainian servicemen who want to learn English. They need native English speakers with a good vocabulary and neutral accents, people who will enunciate well and who aren't shy. Mostly just chat and give practice communicating, but there is course material as well. I believe it is a good option for people like myself with little money but who want to help. I've never heard of this organization before, but seems really nice. If you want to volunteer your time to do English conversation classes with Ukrainians looking to improve their own English skills, I'll put the link to this organization down below. final video is once again Ukrainian defenders returning home. I saw this video and it was very moving. This is a Ukrainian defender choosing to sing a song that was sung by the defenders of Azovstal in 2022. Let me share the video.
Ні слави, ні заплати, заплата нам, радість боротьби, солодше нам у бою умирати, як жити в путах, мов німі раби. Солодше нам у бою умирати, як жити в путах, мов німі раби. Доволі нам руїни і незгоди, не сміє брат на брата йти у бій, під синьо-жовтим прапором свободи з'єднаєм весь великий нарід свій.
That's all for this update video. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. If you found this video informative, give me a thumbs up. Best way to support the channel. Comments and questions, let me know down below. I love hearing from you guys. Until the next video, keep defending the truth, keep defending democracy.
Get some! Get some!
Mission at 10 minutes remaining. Proceed to extraction when ready.
I need stim!
Found it. Finally, Jesus. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Fuck you. I tried to leave, but they made me come back. They made me come back. That frickin' factory frickin' fabricator. That's destroyed. It's their fault. They made me come back. I tried to fucking leave. Goddamn Borgs. Goddamn Borgs. Now let's try to make it back to this damn ass extract.
How about a nice cup of liver tea?
What? Come on now. Come on now.
Deploying support weapon.
This is my first successful operation on Cyberstand. First op, first success, first time go. We only had one computer crash, and fortunately it wasn't during a mission, so I'd say this patch is a success. You want some, bro? You can have it.
Firing orbital barrage.
You can fucking have it. God, I suck. There's tons of divers. Maybe because I'm already mission complete. There's no divers coming. Because I'm already mission complete. Does mission complete turn your SOS off? Look at these idiots being still alive. This game cheats so hard, bro. Bro, this game cheats so hard. To fucking be dead. God damn, this game cheats, dude. This game fucking cheats so bad, dude. Fuck away from me.
Extraction shuttle inbound.
Injury? What injury? I need stim!
T-minus 1 minute, 30 seconds.
Bro, I cannot hit the broadside of a barn.
Last reload!
ETA T-minus 1 minute.
Say hello to democracy! Get some! Get some!
Well, that was pretty tame. For being a bot drop, that was super tame.
ETA T-minus 30 seconds.
That was so tame. I was expecting so much more shit.
No pain, no freedom.
It's crazy I'm gonna get to extract. That's crazy. This mission was fucking ridiculous. I have to thank all my fellow divers. They did the mission for me, basically. I was constantly repulsed by the bots. I could not get onto any objectives. The bots were always in my way. Always in my way. I am blessed by the Helldivers of Super Earth that they aided me in my operation.
Another step towards the righteous reclamation of Cyberstan.
But, you know, I just have to kind of redeem my own ego just a little bit. I redeem myself for my ego. You know, somebody had to fight the bots while my partners were doing the objectives. Somebody had to do it. Warp Pack looking pretty sexy at this point, I admit.
Their form of government is no match for ours.
Cyberstan will be heavily defended.
Are you ready, Helldiver?
Ah, I see. Autonomy is the name of the mega factory. I see. Spread democracy in this fucking environment? No. Super Earth High Command can eat my butt. Oh man, 40 frickin' minutes. I don't know if I'm up for another op or not. That was stressful.
Mission coordinates locked. Hellpods Prime, engaging orbital thrusters. Orbit synchronized.
I gotta say, man, Quasar still feels good in these missions, but damn, it's slow. It is slow. And that is not helping me. It's nice for destroying objectives, of course. But I can barely use it against the enemy, it's so slow. I feel like the mech suits get trashed probably by all of the bullshit going on. I don't know, man. Yeah, you know, the Quasar doesn't feel that good, but it's still better than everything else, dude. It's still better than everything else. Does the rail cannon kill the big guys? There's only one way to find out. I feel like rail cannon's gonna be good. Where's my buddies? I need some buddies to fucking win these missions for me.
Launch initiated.
We're gonna do another op. We're gonna do another op.
Mega factories rise on this planet like festering boils. Purge the filth within and cauterize what remains.
SOS beacon.
Super Earth!
Shit, dude. God damn, bro.
Injury?
Helldiver, you are moving outside the mission area.
I need stim!
Automaton outpost scrapped. Mission in 10 minutes remaining.
Knock down!
Objective critical stratagem available. Spot outpost destroyed. Objective nearby. Objective critical stratagem no longer available. KIA deploying replacement.
Yeah, this is not gonna go well if I don't get some frickin' reinforcements. What's up with that? What happened? I got the SOS out. There's like 1 million divers on this planet, right? So what the fuck?
Objective critical stratagem available. Objective critical stratagem no longer available. Orbital strike incoming. Enemy tactical asset within threat range.
Last reload!
I don't know, guys. I think I'm being screwed with here. Why wouldn't any divers be joining my frickin' mission right now? Damn it. Come on. This sucks. That's crazy. That's fucking crazy.
Last reload!
Lost. Sending replacement.
One more fabricator.
5 minutes remaining.
One more fabricator. Where's it at? Right there.
Has landed.
Perfect.
Deploying support weapon.
Mission complete. Wow. Can't believe it. I guess it is a relatively easy mission objective. You just focus on getting the frickin' replicators. Man. They are coming after me. Get out of here.
Last reload!
Is this closed? Of course it is. Yeah. We got a way out. We got a way out.
Extraction is available. Objective critical stratagem available.
At a stim!
Objective critical stratagem available. Objective critical stratagem no longer available.
The fuck? I ran past it? I guess I did. It's over here? Is it actually? Oh, it's this. I'm blind. I'm so blind. I'm just so focused on looking for the frickin' the tunnel. I was looking for the tunnel. I didn't see the gap in the wall. I'll remember that. I did not check the corner properly. I just ran right by. Orbital laser. Yeah, I know you see me. Oh, no, they didn't see me. They didn't see me.
laser. Firing orbital strike. Left. Destroyer preparing to leave.
Get him. Get that motherfucker, damn it. Great. Perfect. Extremely fair and balanced.
Reinforcements have been launched.
Absolute balance.
Joining the fray.
Look at how balanced that dude is when I've got nothing to fight him with.
My life for Super Earth!
Look at the balance on this guy. Extreme balance. That's it. Mission complete, baby. Glory to democracy.
This is Pelican 1. Helldivers are outside the extraction zone. Landing aborted.
That'll teach those secessionists.
Bruh. Bruh. Let's see here. Found some more listenable media. Oh, no one wants to listen to fucking Sargon, dude. Why would you recommend that to me? Sargon of Akkad. What a fucking idiot. This guy writes some pretty good essays. We'll hear what he has to say.
We all do it. You see a line, have no idea what it's for, but your brain is like, should I join it? It's crazy, right?
Hey, let me call you back. I gotta stand in a line.
Even crazy.
AI has been the hot topic for the past few years, but it seems like nobody's noticed that it's actually just medieval alchemy. Duh. We're all so busy scrambling and trying to figure out how AI is going to change everything when all we need to do is look 1,000 years into the past to figure it all out. You're of course already familiar with what artificial intelligence is, so your first question here is probably what's alchemy? Well, to the medieval mind, alchemy was this weird, specialized branch of natural philosophy that thought it could uncover all the deepest secrets of nature. Alchemists basically wanted to create an agent of perfection, something that could turn lead into gold and cure human illnesses. Coincidentally, just like Sam Altman, they tried to constantly sell everyone on the future implications of their experiments instead of what was actually doable in the present moment. You might use AI all the time. I know the corporate world and American universities pretty much run on ChatGPT at this point. But could you actually explain to me in an in-depth way how these large language models work? And before you copy-paste some long Wikipedia answer into the comment section, the answer is no, because even the engineers who built them don't fully understand how they work. This is called the black box problem.
Napalm's probably
you
pretty
see,
fucking good
these
here.
engineers design the architectures and training processes for something like ChatGPT, but if you were to ask them, they don't actually fully understand the internal logic of how these models arrive at specific outputs. Wouldn't you believe it, flying blind like this is actually an incredibly medieval concept. Medieval Europe was a truly God-fearing place in a way that not even the most religious among us could imagine today. Everything was completely steeped in Christianity, including alchemy, and the alchemists saw themselves as co-creators with God who could change the very essence of matter from one thing to another. One of their main pursuits was to discover the Philosopher's Stone. Shout out all my Potterheads.
Yeah, fuck it.
Which was a concept that dates all the way back to the Greek mystic Zosimos of Panoplos in the 4th century. Basically, the alchemists
Actually,
figured
no,
they
we
could
need ammo.
create this
We need ammo,
legendary
so
substance.
one of these has to
Not
go.
only would it turn lead into gold, it would also
I guess the
heal all
380 will
ailments
go,
and
'cause
give
we
human
def
beings
need
immortality. Like I said, medieval Europe was extremely Christian, and if you've ever read the Bible, you'll notice that a lot of the patriarchs in the Old Testament apparently lived
Man, I still got no
incredibly long
buddies.
lives. We're talking 800 or 900 years. So if you're a medieval alchemist reading this, it's not
we're about to
crazy
get
think
trashed
that
without any
maybe
friends.
those biblical patriarchs had access to some secret that you need to discover. Elias Ashmole was a 17th century alchemist, which is a little outside the boundaries of the Middle Ages, but he was drawing on medieval knowledge when he claimed that the history of the Philosopher's Stone went all the way back to Adam, who learned about the stone directly from God. This information was then passed down through Moses and Jacob and all the other main characters in the Old Testament, but it had been lost somewhere in the distant past. Also, alchemy wasn't just a Western European pursuit either, and it was actually the Byzantines in the East, along with Arab scientists, who initially picked up where the Greeks left off. I'm gonna get a little technical here for a second, but just stay with me because I promise this all links back to AI. There was this 8th century Muslim alchemist named Jabir ibn Hayyan, and he was big on the idea that every metal was a combination of fire, earth, water, and air. So if you can imagine that all metals have some combination of these 4 basic properties, you should theoretically be able to transmute one metal into another by rearranging these properties. That's how you would be able to turn lead into gold. The change could only happen from some outside substance, which was called zirion in Greek, and al-iksir in Arabic, which was Latinized into the word elixir. This elixir, Jabir figured, was some sort of powder, and you could somehow make it from the Philosopher's Stone. In the same way, a modern neural network is just a bunch of dead math until you apply the elixir of training data and optimized weights. That is what transmutes the code into something that feels alive, the responses you get from your AI agent. Now, I want to give credit to our medieval ancestors here because there were plenty of thinkers throughout the Middle Ages who called for all of this. There was the legendary Persian philosopher Avicenna, who was also an incredibly influential physician, and he basically tore this whole alchemy theory down, saying those of the chemical craft know well that no change can be effected in the different species of substances, though they can produce the appearance of such change. To put it simply, he's saying it's easy to drum up hype and sell people on the idea of this magic process, but those who had actually worked with this stuff knew that it was impossible. That brings us to our current AI problem. Now, the title of this video says that AI isn't the future, but I'd like to clarify that I'm not some Luddite, and I'm not actually against AI technology generally. It does seem to have some beneficial use cases, especially in the medical field, and I think it is something that's going to be part of our existence for the foreseeable future. What I am saying is that history teaches us that we should be wary of any miraculous thing that's going to fix all of our problems in one fell swoop. All you need to do is look at medieval alchemy, which proves that this pursuit of perfection is part of the human psyche, and it's never quite worked out the way it was supposed to. There's this insane book that came out recently called On the Future of Species, and it's all about how AI is literally primed to create synthetic life. Is it ethical? Who cares? We can finally perfect the human genome and create a race of super soldiers. But before we get to that, I mentioned earlier the black box, the place where complexity hides the truth. To be totally honest, I've been dealing with
Well, we got
that in my
38%
own
of them.
personal finances.
First try, that's
I'm
pretty
the type
good.
of person who signs up for free trials to test out new editing tools or research archives and then completely forgets to cancel them. And that's why I'm so excited to tell you about today's sponsor, Rocket Money. As someone who gets easily overwhelmed by multiple accounts, their singular view feature has been a lifesaver. I securely link my checking, savings, and even my business accounts, and now I have a single dashboard to monitor my overall financial health without logging in.
Does strafing run not kill
the
fucking...
best part for me is the subscription management.
Does strafing run not fucking work on
tracks every
replicators?
charge I have and puts them in one consolidated list. It's helped me stay on top.
Yeah,
of
and
those
could I
trials
spawn inside the
earlier,
mission
and it
area?
even helps
Like,
me cancel them
holy
with just a few
cow,
taps.
guys.
Go to rocketmoney.com.
I know you
mindset to
don't
get started
necessarily
for free.
like me, but...
You can also scan the QR code here on the screen or click the link in the description. Unlock even more features when you sign up for premium. Start transmuting your spending into savings at rocketmoney.com/mindset.
When the world gave them setbacks, science gave them bounce backs. And when your vet delivered life-altering news, science delivered life-changing nutrition. Hill's Prescription Diet. Science does more.
Enjoy over $3,500 in annual value with the American Express Platinum Card. Get up to $400 in Resi credits, the $300 digital entertainment credit, and the $600 hotel credit. There's nothing like Platinum.
So you know how I said before that alchemists saw themselves as co-creators with God? Well, they believe that everything is made of a basic materia that can be broken down and reorganized. In his new book on the future of species, the genomic entrepreneur Adrian Wolfson says that with AI, we're making this alchemist dream an actual reality. For my money, the term genomic entrepreneur sounds incredibly dystopian, but I guess that's beside the point. Wolfson writes, and I quote,
all right, we're running through the lives pretty quick at this point.
Other species with those of humans
running through them pretty quick, and not being able to just drive my freaking pod
in the Bible, the prophet Ezekiel
is so
sees 4 beasts
stupid.
emerge from a burning cloud. Each has wings and 4 faces, that of a man, a lion, an ox, and an eagle. There was also the creature Barak, a fusion between a mule and a donkey with wings and a human face that was said to have carried Muhammad on his journeys. Wolfson claims that with the new neural network technology of AlphaFold 2, we can take the structures of complex proteins and actually predict them. That means we would be able to create new ones, and if we can create new proteins, that would suggest that we can create new forms of life. One more quote from Wolfson here. He says, biology now stands at the threshold of transitioning from a largely descriptive science into a generative one. Dude, this is literally just medieval alchemy. We've tried all of this before. There was this alchemist named Paracelsus who was working at the tail end of the Middle Ages into what we would now call the Renaissance. He had this crazy idea that life didn't actually require a womb, and with the right ingredients in a controlled environment, you could theoretically create a human, or maybe even something better than human. In his seminal work, De Natura Rerum, Paracelsus says that human semen is the primary seed, which makes sense. According to his theory, if you sealed it up in a cucurbit, which was a glass vessel, and buried it in horse dung for 40 days, something miraculous would happen. Of course, you warm dung would provide a steady, gentle heat
Not what I wanted.
the warmth of a womb. It makes total sense.
That's okay.
After 40 days, a transparent, human-like form would start to emerge.
We don't even
it would
need
then
to
have
draw
to
it
be
yet.
fed on human blood for 40 weeks to reach maturity. The goal for the alchemists wasn't just curiosity or trying different things in some early form of the modern scientific method. They wanted sovereignty over nature. For our AI overlords, sovereignty over information apparently isn't enough. They want
the
power to
frickin'
create
Roger
and
guys.
life. Quickly back to Paracelsus.
Not
for a
very
second.
good.
Don't you wonder what kind
They
of
miss a lot.
personality would come up with an idea like this? Well, he was known for outbursts of swearing. He loved to throw temper tantrums and insult everyone around him. One of his close companions wrote of him, "The 2 years I passed in his company, he spent in drinking and gluttony day and night. He could not be found sober an hour or two together." I mean, that is kind of relatable, but still. This was the man who was trying to unlock the secrets of the universe and attain ultimate power. Obviously, Paracelsus never achieved his goal of creating human life, but he was a major pioneer in the field of cosmology, and he was clearly a tortured genius. I guess in some ways you could say he shot for the moon, he missed, but he landed in the stars. Let's come back to the present day and take a look at what the AI guys are saying. Sam Altman claimed in an interview that AGI, or Artificial General Intelligence, will be the most significant technological development in human history. According to Altman, it has the potential to solve every problem we face.
God damn it.
Sure
Okay,
does sound
we're
a
holding
lot
down
like
right
what
here.
the Islamic alchemist
Okay, maybe we
Ibn
can
Khayyam
go this
said
way.
about the Philosopher's Stone. He
Whatever,
claimed
I'm dead.
it brings perfect health and rejuvenation.
Might
to
get
a
him with this
decayed world.
frickin'
So Altman
napalm,
is saying
though.
here that he used AGI as a singular, universal fix for the human condition, but I think we all know that reality is always more complicated than that.
Where am I
Demis
going? That way.
Hassabis, the co-founder of DeepMind, has said similar things.
gotta just throw these
and
frickin'
his
things out.
stated two-step mission is to solve intelligence and then use that to solve everything else. Why does that sound so familiar too? Oh, that's right, because the 13th century English philosopher and alchemist Roger Bacon said the same thing 800 years ago. He was seeking something called Scientia Integralis, a universal science that linked the material world to the soul. Just like Roger, Demis Hassabis is essentially looking for the single source code of reality, the key to open up every lock. Let's go back to Altman for a second, because I think for most of us,
Damn.
the base of this whole AI movement, he repeats
Fucking
this
A.
one phrase all the time, which is that
Oh, I have one more?
a breaking point in history. As I was researching this video, that kept standing out to me. Breaking point, breaking point, breaking point. I then, of course, realized that Altman was just repeating a medieval concept. Have you ever heard of the three Hermes, also known as the Hermes trilogy?
Got him. Wow.
No?
Wow.
Let me fill
Down
you
to the
in.
wire.
Medieval Latin culture, especially starting in the 12th century, adopted a specific legend.
Motherfucking another successful mission.
Survived the major disasters of history. So if the entire world was flooded during the Noah's Ark story in the Bible, how did humans rebuild? To answer this burning question, medieval thinkers came up with a sacred genealogy of three main characters who were each appointed by God to basically protect and restore the secrets of nature. The first was Enoch, who was there before the Great Flood. He was carried off to heaven, and he was the first to get this divine wisdom. Then there was, of course, Noah, who was saved by God during the flood. He was thought of in the medieval mind as a kind of bridge figure, so he's carrying the seeds of knowledge through all of the destruction. Then we come to Mercurius in post-flood Egypt, and he's the greatest of them all. He's a king and a philosopher and a prophet who formally creates the liberal and mechanical arts.
All right, that's
which
it, guys.
Of course includes alchemy.
It was fun.
So to sum it all up, in the medieval view,